The Game Week 10 deadline is drawing near, so it's time to make some final decisions. Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan. Today we have got a lot to cover. We're going to be going over the usual press conference news that we received today, and there's a lot of very important injury updates that you guys are not going to want to miss out on. We're also then going to talk about the upcoming double and blank game weeks that could potentially be announced within the next week. And yes, they do come in the first half of the season, so this could impact your chip strategy. We're going to look at some projected goal scorer odds for Game Week 10. We're going to have a look at who to bench and who to play in your squad, and then we're going to have a look at a Game Week 10 wildcard draft, that ideal team for Game Week 10 onwards. And finally, we're going to look at my final Game Week 10 team and the transfers that I have made, because I have finalized my transfers. I actually made a transfer last night that I want to share with you guys. So loads of stuff coming up, guys, loads of stuff to cover. Let's get started. But first, this video is sponsored by Huel, the complete meals for people who want to spend less time preparing food and more time playing FPL. You can get £10 off your Huel order by using code FPL10. All right, so let's go through the team news. We've got Arsenal updates. First of all, Martinelli is going to be out and Saliba might be available. It's going to be one of those classic Arteta wait and see. So yeah, unfortunately, Arteta being vague as usual, maybe Saliba could be a player to sell, considering there are maybe some better options at Arsenal. Anyway, Odegaard is still going to be out, as well as Havertz, Madueke and the like. So maybe these players are going to be back by around Game Week 12. We're looking at the North London derby, the Spurs fixture, when these guys are possibly going to be coming back in. Saka was ill last week despite playing, but he is absolutely fine now. He played some minutes in the midweek, so he is going to be good to go. For Aston Villa, Buendia and Tielemans are out. Elliott is going to be ineligible to face his parent club, Liverpool. For Bournemouth, bad news for Krupi Jr. owners. Evan Nilsson has trained and will be in the squad at the very least, but we're not sure if he is going to start yet or not. I think that is a good piece of news for Semenyo, though, because Evan Nilsson really helps Semenyo and Semenyo's play. So if you're a Semenyo owner, good news. If you're a Krupi Jr. owner, this could potentially be the last week where he starts. It's a game against Man City anyway, though, so you're probably not expecting too much from the likes of Krupi Jr. As for Brighton, Mittelmar, Veltman and Gruda are getting closer, but they are still out. Milner also picked up a small muscle injury. There's no new returnees for Brighton, however. For Chelsea, Delap is now fit, but unfortunately, due to a head loss red card in the midweek, he is actually going to be suspended for this game week. So a little bit more rest for him. Maybe Mark Gu gets one more game playing against Spurs in Game Week 10. But Joao Pedro, Enzo, Caicedo, these players all have niggles, small injuries. They were rested midweek. But they are going to be available at least. But it seems that these players are being managed. That's what Enzo Maresca kind of says at the moment. No Palmer update, unfortunately. Looks like the same schedule as before. So we're looking at another 5 weeks out, most likely, for him. For Crystal Palace, Nketiah picked up a hamstring injury in the midweek, unfortunately for him, which meant Mateta had to come on. And it actually looks now like Mateta is going to be nailed on, playing every single game for Crystal Palace, whilst Nketiah is unavailable due to lack of other options. Wharton is ill this weekend, so he is not going to be available to play like Nketiah. But Richards is available following a scan, but we are unsure whether he is going to start or not. All we know that is he is available. The calf scan came back clear. He is, he's technically fit, but there is a chance he is still rested for this weekend. So Richards is probably still worth starting if you have him, but just be aware, make sure you've got some bench cover and be aware that maybe Richards doesn't play. Probably put this down as like a 50-50 at this point, but I still think he's worth starting. He's not really the kind of player, centre-backs in general, when they are benched, they usually stay benched, to be totally honest with you guys. We've got Fulham here. Anderson is going to be in contention to play, which is a bit of a surprise, actually. Nobody really thought that Anderson would be playing against Wolves this weekend, but the centre-back is in contention. There are different ways of interpreting the press conference. Some people are saying that, it sounds like Anderson is going to play. Other people saying it sounds like he's in contention to play. It depends how you translate these press conferences, I suppose, when you're listening to them. So I'll leave that up to you. But certainly good news. If you're an Anderson owner against Wolves, you've got to start him now. And I think you can be reasonably optimistic that he will play this game week. Just get him in your starting 11 and see what happens. So Wilson, Muniz, Chukwueze and Smith Rowe, they're also in contention to play in Game Week 10 against Wolves, but Raul is going to be doubtful for this game week. Moving on to some more news, Goodmanson is available following a dead leg in Game Week 9 that he picked up in that West Ham game. Nonto is back in training as well, but he is not going to be ready to start. For Liverpool, Gravenberg is back in training, but no decision made yet. Isak is 99.9% not going to be in the squad this weekend, and Alisson and Frimpong are, of course, still out. Haaland is fit despite missing midweek. I think we all probably knew that, to be honest, but yeah, he's trained all week. I know he wasn't even on the bench in the League Cup game in the midweek against Swansea, but he's going to be absolutely fine. Rodri has been training this week, and Kusanov is now available as well. He got some minutes in the midweek too. For Newcastle, Livramento and Wissa still several weeks away from returning, so don't expect anything from these guys soon. Wissa, it seems like his return has actually been delayed a little bit. So good news if you are a Voltemada owner. We got Lewis Hall. He is back in training today, but Game Week 10 is going to be a little bit too soon for him to start a game. As for Spurs, Romero, Udogie and Odegaard are now available to play, and Vicario is fit following some midweek doubt. Solanke is still out for it, however. As for Sunderland, Alderete obviously had that head injury a couple of weeks ago. Well, got his concussion, but he is getting better, apparently, and he has been training. So, again, fairly optimistic news on Alderete. And as for West Ham, Fulkrug, Mavropanos, and now Scarles are unavailable, and Paqueta is going to play on Sunday, despite some question marks about his discipline recently. So those are the updates on the team news. There is still so much to talk about today, though, guys, so stick around. If you're anything like me during the FPL season, you spend too much time looking at player stats and not enough time cooking proper food. That's where Huel comes in. Huel is a nutritionally complete meal from just £1.79 per meal and 17 full meals per bag. The Black Edition powder is an online exclusive packed with protein, carbs, fats, fiber, and 26 essential vitamins and minerals. Basically everything an FPL manager needs to perform without spending half an hour in the kitchen. It's perfect for me when I realize I have a 9 AM deadline stream and no time to prepare breakfast. That way I can make sure my diet is balanced before figuring out how to balance my team with the right amount of Arsenal players. All Huel products are plant-based. You can get the powder or the shakes. They're a great way for nerds like me to get healthy and feel more energetic. And you can try Huel with £10 off using my code FPL10 at checkout. Or use the link in the description or the QR code on screen to get started. Remember, code FPL10. Now I'm full of energy. Let's get back to FPL. Okay, so outside of the injury stuff, this is probably the biggest piece of FPL relevant information that has come out this week. And that is the potential for some double and blank game weeks in this first half of the season, which we weren't expecting any. There's still, a good chance there won't be any, but we need to be aware of the possibility. So basically what has happened is Crystal Palace have advanced through to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. Unfortunately, that game is scheduled to play on the 16th of December, Tuesday, the 16th of December. That is where the Carabao Cup quarterfinals are due to play. And just 2 days after that, Crystal Palace are meant to play in the Europa Conference League against KUPS. It is going to be a home game there. So, unfortunately, that means that what we have right now is a situation where Crystal Palace, they will face Man City on the Sunday, then Arsenal on the Tuesday, and then play in the Conference League on the Thursday. And then they'll play again, obviously, in Game Week 17 against Leeds. They've also got a midweek game before Game Week 16 as well. So we're looking at a crazy packed fixture schedule. So in scenario A, things do not change. Crystal Palace are literally left to play this many games in such a short period of time. We're talking about 4 games in 8 days. Really, really crazy stuff. And this is scenario A. This is a situation where the fixtures do not move around at all. And, Crystal Palace just have to play a crazy amount of games. And that arguably is going to make a lot of their FPL assets sells, because there's no way that Crystal Palace don't rotate during this period. This is a crazy period of games for them. And you would have to think that, a lot of big players, Mateta, Sarr is going to be off to AFCON at that point. You know, if you've got Munoz, if you've got Richards, particularly in the centre back position, these players are going to be super rotation risk around this kind of area, but other teams will be unaffected. It will just be Crystal Palace that suffer. But we do have scenario B, and you can see on screen, guys, we have got Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Everton, and Leeds as the teams I've highlighted, because in scenario B, these are the teams that are going to be affected by this. So the alternative to fix Crystal Palace's fixture congestion situation, what could potentially be done is moving all of the fixtures between Arsenal and Everton and Crystal Palace and Leeds, these two fixtures, moving them from game week 17 into the midweek of game week 16, allowing Arsenal versus Crystal Palace to play in the Carabao Cup quarterfinal at the weekend on Sunday the 17th. If that were to happen, that would mean that Crystal Palace will have a more, normal break between games, 3 days, 4 days between games, which is what ideally we want to see from football teams, to not give them too much overwork. Now, if the Premier League were to move these fixtures out of game week 17, that would mean moving Arsenal and Everton into game week 16, creating a double game week for Arsenal and Everton. However, it would not create a double game week for Crystal Palace and Leeds, as this fixture would be played later on in the season. But of course, if all of these fixtures are moved out of game week 17, that is going to mean that Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Everton, and Leeds will blank in game week 17. They will not have a fixture in game week 17. So, just to summarize, in scenario B, things change a lot. Arsenal and Everton will have a double game week in game week 16. Crystal Palace and Leeds will have a double game week at some point later on in the season, in the second half of the season. And most impactful is that Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Everton, and Leeds will have no fixture in game week 17. So, if you have your free hit still, I would, at this point, be saving it for game week 17 to use in game week 17 if possible, because if you have a lot of Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Everton, and Leeds players in your squad, that is going to be a very big problem for you, because these are going to be important, expensive players that you're going to want to maybe have beyond game week 17. So it'd be nice to just transfer them out for 1 week only using the free hit. Now, of course, if you don't have a free hit, remember you are going to get an extra 5 transfers, well, an extra 4 transfers really, when AFCON starts. So around a similar time, we're looking at game week 16 for that. So if you can save your AFCON transfers, maybe you can use them to navigate a potential blank game week in game week 17 as well. If you still have your triple captainship, I think game week 16 could be a target game week there, because if you can maybe get, Arsenal or Gabriel, Saka or Gabriel for Arsenal, playing against Wolves and Everton in a double game week, I think that's going to be a really nice triple captain opportunity if you still have that chip, of course. So, yeah. The real headline is here, guys, is if you still have chips remaining, save them until we have the answer to this problem, until we know if we're going to see scenario A or scenario B, because we don't know which one it is going to be yet. So hopefully we'll find out by next week's deadline. It will be within the next couple of weeks, hopefully, that we do find out for sure what is going to happen here. So yeah, just save those chips if you can, just for a couple of weeks whilst we gather information. And then once we know, you can make that judgment. Okay, now I know I want a triple captain in game week 16. Now I know I want a free hit in game week 17. It maybe impacts your wildcard plans a little bit. Bench boost, probably not so much if you do still have that chip, because your bench boost is for your weakest players, and really, it's not going to impact just 4 teams, or well, just 2 teams with a double game week, really. It's not going to impact the bench boost too much, because you'd be starting your Arsenal defenders anyway, and, maybe you'd be starting your Everton defenders anyway, but it's not exactly a great double game week for Everton if they were to get Chelsea away and Arsenal at home. Not so hot, really. So, yeah, there you go. Hopefully that explains that. Sorry to go into a lot of detail, but I wanted you guys to understand what the situation is, so you can kind of make your own assessments based on what we currently know. Let's look at some projected goals, guys, and these are the market odds coming from Rob T on Twitter. A final update on these bad boys, and we see Haaland with the highest amount of projected goals this week, 0.91 projected. So maybe that helps you guys with your captaincy decision for this week. Mateta is in second place, 0.6 projected goals. So good news for those of you who are picking up Mateta ahead of game week 10. We see Salah quite high here, 0.55. No surprise, he is Salah. Gyökeres 0.54 is pretty interesting here, though. because obviously a lot of people are thinking of selling Gyökeres, but Gyökeres is a player who does very well against weaker teams. We saw that in Portugal last year, and Burnley concede a lot of goals to strikers. So if you are a Gyökeres owner and you are feeling a little concerned about him, I definitely would not be. I think, he is absolutely fine for this game week, and maybe you can reassess the situation from next game week onwards. Some other interesting players high on this list: Welbeck, Voltemada, even Gordon here. Saka is pretty high among midfielders. I don't think there's anyone other than Gordon who is on the same amount of projected goals. In the midfielders, it is, obviously Salah, but then Gordon and Saka looking really hot there as well. Thiago is high. Sarr is high as well. We've got some players like Eze a little bit lower as well. And Mbeumo, Bruno, not really too much to split them this week. Joao Pedro is indeed on this list, as is Njai, if you have him in your team. And Krupi Jr., if he starts this week and Evan Nilsson doesn't, has actually been given 0.23 projected goals there. So it's actually not too bad for him, really. So feel free to pause. Feel free to check out Rob T on Twitter if you want to get, if you want to have a good look at this graphic. Okay, so this is the bench list. Now, if you've watched FPL Mate deadline streams before, you will know all about this already. But I wanted to bring this to the wider masses. Well, if you can call them masses, whoever happens to be watching this video right now, I suppose. So if you are unfamiliar with this graphic, basically what we're looking at here is a list of players, basically in priority order of whether you should start them in your squad or not. So for example, if you have a few players who you're not sure whether you're going to bench them or start them. So for example, maybe you have Semenyo in your team. Just to take an example of the top three players here. If you have Semenyo, Njai, and Thiago in your squad, but you can only start one of those three players, what you can do is you can look through this list. You find your three players, Semenyo, Njai, and Thiago. You can see that Semenyo is at the top out of those three players. And that basically means that, in my opinion, I would rather start Semenyo than start Njai or to start Thiago. Again, it's just my personal opinion there. So we could go through the list for whatever two players you might have. If you have, Xhaka, who is in the middle of this list, and Juve, who is towards the bottom of this list, I would rather play Xhaka than I would play Juve. So this list is players who really are benching considerations. So the big players who you're definitely going to play: Haaland, Salah if you have him, Saka, Gabriel, whoever else. These players who you're definitely going to play are not going to be on this list. It's more about looking for those players that I've seen some people considering benching this week, and hopefully trying to give an order. So again, feel free to pause, check through this list. We've got a goalkeeper section as well on the right-hand side if you want to check out the goalkeeper play order as well. And hopefully this is just going to be helpful for answering some of those bench-related questions, because we always get those questions in the comments. Should I play player A or player B? Who should I bench, A or B? And hopefully if your two players or three players or whatever are on this list, you got it covered. All right, I think that's enough on that one. We'll try and do this every week, I think, because I think the bench list is super useful. We've been doing it on deadline streams for years now, and yeah, it's quite nice to get it in the videos as well. I made a quick wildcard draft for those of you on a wildcard. Again, maybe try and do this every game week from now. We've gone for Pope in goal, Gabriel and Timber as the Arsenal defenders, with Mukiele and Munoz finishing off the defence. In midfield, we've got Saka and Mbeumo, Semenyo and Minter, and up front, I've gone for Haaland and Mateta. You could maybe go for Voltemada here as well, though, and maybe if you were to do that, maybe Sarr instead of Minter. That could work too. We've got Dubravka, Xhaka, at Rodon, and Mark Gu on the bench. And I think with this team, the idea would be to rotate Mukiele, Xhaka, Rodon, and possibly Minter in some game weeks. This team costs just 100.2 million, so I've tried to keep it fairly cheap. I'm sure most of you guys will be able to actually afford a little bit better than this actually, but I thought I'd just make a basic team that you can build upon it based on how much extra budget you have in your team. This team, by the way, has a 99% rating on Fantasy Football Hub. If you want to check out the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool, which I use to build this team, you can do so. Again, that link is going to be in the description. And let's finish off, guys, with my final Game Week 10 team. So, obviously, I've made transfers already. On Sunday, I made the Joao Pedro to Mateta move to stay ahead of price changes. And last night, I saw that Ismaila Sarr was looking like he was going to rise in price last night. Again, that was on Fantasy Football Hub. They have the price predictions there. And it also suggested that Kudus is likely to go down in price before the deadline. We'll have to see if he does go down before the deadline, but it's looking like he might go down. And because of that 0.2 million price swing between the two players, I thought let's just get this move over and done with and save as much budget as possible, trying to increase the team value a little bit. So I did make the kxxssl move last night. Of course, in yesterday's video, I did suggest that if there was going to be a price change, I would go ahead and make the move, and that is exactly what I have done. Captain is still on Erling Haaland, and really the final decision is just about that final defender spot. Who's going to play, Richards, Alderete, or Senesi? What I am going to do is I'm going to start Richards, hope that he plays, hope he's available, and hopefully if he's not available, then he doesn't play any minutes, allowing Alderete to come on at home against Everton, because I'm absolutely fine with Alderete versus Everton. I think there's not too much between Richards and Alderete anyway, and in a worst case scenario where neither Richards nor Alderete are available, then Senesi will just have to come on and be that backup guy for me. I'm hoping that is not going to be the case, but if it is, it is. Both of the injuries to Richards and Alderete are not going to be long-term or serious or anything like that. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no need to make a transfer there, which is a good thing, because after the kxxssl move, I don't have any free transfers left anyway. But yeah, I think we've got enough cover here to get at least someone playing in that third defender spot, even if it has to be Senesi. But fingers crossed that is not going to be the case. But I'm liking the look of my team at the moment. I'm sure some people will, prefer players like Mbermo or Voltemada. Outside of those guys, I think we've mostly got the best attackers, certainly attackers in this squad. Defense, I'm pretty happy with as well, with the double Arsenal. I love Malik Chow, as you guys know. And, hopefully Richards is going to be available. I would like to have Munoz in here, really. But, yeah, I've got Richards a lot cheaper, so that's going to be fine, I think. So, yeah, there we go. That is my Game Week 10 team. And, guys, if you have any final questions of your very own, feel free to leave them in the comment section for your final decisions. I hope we've answered a lot, but if I fail to answer certain things, if that you've got transfer moves, transfer ideas you'd like to make, yeah, this is your final chance to get in the comment section and yeah, ask me a question and I'll try and answer as many of you guys as I can. Remember to drop a like on the video before you go. We don't usually upload on Friday, so if you leave a like, it just tells me that I'm doing a good job and that you like the Friday videos, and maybe we can continue to do them into the future. Do subscribe if you want this kind of content every day, pretty much every day. We're uploading at the moment. Check out another video if you would like to, and yeah, of course, check out Huel. Massive shout out to them for supporting the channel today. I'll see you guys on the deadline stream tomorrow, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.